Now tuned into the greatest.
So when that bag come, I won't fumble. I'm just stacking on the low, but hey, I'm tired of being humble. Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it. Cause when I gon' have matching S550s cruising. Feel like you winning on the ground.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. Now, I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, or you want to just give a prediction or something, hit us up on the voicemail line, 219-413-9405. And of course, we will play your take back on our next episode. And then speaking of episodes, shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code TheRunPodcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but basketball season's rolling strong. And if you really got it like that, go to one of these playoff games and use the promo code. Save yourself $20 off your ticket purchase when you go watch maybe the Rams and the Panthers, or maybe it's even the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Some of the teams we'll be talking about today. But, let's start off because it's the wild card weekend in the NFL. And, I'm excited for a lot of the games that we have. There's like literally one game in particular I'm a little skeptical about, which is why we'll start with this one because I don't think it really gets a lot of respect. I'll leave it at that. So Rams and Panthers, this is probably the least talked about game. I think everyone is anticipating the Panthers to lose this game. Rams, they were 12-5 over the season. Panthers were 8-9, barely even won the division. Thanks to the Atlanta Falcons, they were able to clinch it out. But the Panthers will host this playoff game, which is also kind of weird considering the Rams have a better record and they have a better season so far. But I think just about everybody in their right mind is thinking the Rams is going to win this game. And I'm not on here to sit here and tell you like, oh, no, well, the Panthers is going to win because of this, and this. No, absolutely not. I seriously doubt there's just about any reason the Panthers will end up winning this ball game. However, I just don't want to count them out because, in the regular season, you go back to what happened in the regular season, and the Panthers did defeat the Los Angeles Rams at home back in week 16, and it was a crazy game. This was honestly probably Carolina's best game of the NFL season. They were like in tip-top shape. Everything was locked and loaded. Like they were on it. I mean, every aspect was sharp. This was a game we seen Bryce Young have no turnovers. The run game was on point. The passing game was on point. The defense forced turnovers against the Rams in that matchup. So I'm not saying the same thing is going to happen, but it is possible. I guess the overall conclusion that I'm drawing here from Rams and Panthers is that the Panthers are going to have to play literally their best game ever of the season, just like they did earlier on back in the week 13 or week 16 when they played the Rams. Whatever week that was when they played the Rams, they're going to have to give a very, very similar performance because this team is not good. So looking at the statistics, Panthers, probably one of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL. They finished bottom 10 in passing per game, bottom 10 in total yards per game, bottom 10 in points per game. In the defense, that has kind of been the main ingredient for the Carolina Panthers is this defense has been rolling strong. They tend to look pretty good at times. And, when offense is rolling, they turn into a solid football team. That's the Carolina Panthers. So on field, the offense stalls out a lot, but the statistics don't side with the Carolina Panthers defense because the defense is on the field all the time. So it's hard to have these glorious statistics and these great numbers to support a solid defense when you're always on the field. You got some of I think they're top 10 in, I know they're for sure top 10 in time spent on the field for their defense. But outside of the fancy numbers, if you look at what they do when they're on the field and the play that this Carolina Panthers team have, not saying they don't have, some bad stretches, of course, but really their best factor is the cornerbacks, man. They're going to be a good matchup, and it's already a nightmare matchup going against the Rams because you have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, who are just absolute monsters on the offensive end. However, Panthers are kind of monsters in a quarterback position with J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson because those two dudes have been locking up. I want to say, and I have to fact check it, of course, but looking at the numbers of the receiving yards allowed, Panthers are really good at that. Tight ends get a lot of yards, but the receivers, the wide receivers that's lined up against J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson, they don't really get too many touchdowns and too many yards receiving against this Panthers team. Like, they're pretty elite. So that's an aspect that'll be fun to watch. Not saying they'll push the Panthers over top and force them to win the game, but it'll be a fun aspect to pay attention to, considering Devontae Adams has the most touchdowns out of receivers and Puka Nacua has the most receptions out of all receivers. I think this will be a fun aspect for this team. And then, this is kind of where things start to trickle down, because you look at other aspects outside of defense, the pass defense, the pressure rate. Carolina Panthers have the lowest in the NFL. This is kind of where it starts to get scary, because you look at who the Panthers are playing, and it's the Rams. So Rams, this is a solid team all around. You have Devontae Adams returning from injury. Puka Nacua is an absolute monster. Stafford is an MVP, and I think he is the MVP. This man has been crazy. His touchdown interception ratio, 46-8. This is insane, man. Threw for over 45 touchdowns. The last two MVPs have barely reached 45 passing touchdowns. Last year, Josh Allen didn't reach 30 or 45, mainly because he was running the ball. But just to give a little context of how good throwing 45 touchdowns is, and this man is letting it fly. He's playing at a very high level right now. And regardless of you saying the Rams are frauds or not, I think either way, when you go against Matthew Stafford, it's a scary sight. It's scary, especially when he got Adams and Puka Nacua he's throwing the ball to. So either way, it can be very, very scary, no matter what you want to point the narrative to be or paint the narrative to be with the Los Angeles Rams. This is a solid team, and defensively, it gets even worse, because defensively, Carolina is awful on third down. Meanwhile, the Rams are top 10 on third downs allowed. So it gets a little scary here. They're a top red zone defense. The defense doesn't allow a lot of touchdowns. They only allow, I want to say, 20 points per game defensively. And the Panthers are only barely even putting up 20 points a game. They're 18 on average. So it's a little tough, man. Panthers have only scored 25 points 5 times out of the 17 weeks of football. So these type of things is where I'm just easily siding with the Rams. And this is no new information, but I just kind of want to point out some fun spots to pay attention to in this game. Now, again, how the Panthers beat the Rams earlier in the season, I don't know. It was crazy. It was just a great game. There was no turnovers from the Panthers. The run game was going. The passing game was working. The defense was very active. So, again, they gave their best game in the whole entire season when they beat the Rams earlier in the year. So I was shocked about that. And this kind of just brings me to the thought of a lot of teams in the NFC South get shitted on, for lack of a better word. A lot of teams in the NFC South get shitted on for no reason, because when you look at the narrative that the media has pushed, it's kind of nasty saying, oh, NFC is the worst. NFC South is the worst division in football. Meanwhile, the NFC South has more total wins than the AFC North, and also more total wins than the NFC East. So they are not the worst division in football. And you could even argue that the NFC South is the reason there was so much confusion on who's good and who's not good in the NFL, because they were beating teams like the Rams, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and then turning around and losing to teams like the Jets and the Dolphins. So they're a big reason why there was a lot of confusion, because listen to this. The Falcons beat the Bills, the Rams, and swept the Saints. The Panthers beat the Rams, the Packers, and swept the Falcons. Then the Saints went and swept the Panthers. And then the Buccaneers turned around and beat the Seahawks and the 49ers. Meanwhile, these teams couldn't handle the New York Jets, who are just absolutely trash right now. So that whole narrative of, oh, well, the NFC South is trash, they shouldn't be in the playoffs. I mean, you could also argue that same thing about teams in the AFC North and the NFC East, considering they have less wins than all of the teams in the NFC South. So you can't say the division is complete trash. I'll leave it at that. But this just goes to say, like, you don't know what to expect with any of these teams in the NFC South. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. They might surprise you, and they might not. They might lie down and get whooped. So it'll be interesting to see what really happens in this Rams and Panthers game. Again, I'm still 10 toes down on the Rams. Now, I don't want to make that sound like I'm not going for I'm not going for either of them, but I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to put some false hope out there that the Carolina Panthers are going to end up dominating the Rams, end up beating the Rams. That's just, it's silly to even dare try and make that claim. I wouldn't dare. If you've been watching football and you've been watching more than two teams this entire year, you know the Rams will probably beat the Panthers by 25. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see. Look, we got some news and stuff for the run, so don't go anywhere. There's some more coaches that got fired, man. That Black Monday effect is lingering. It's still going on. So we'll review some of the coaches and the new slots that's open over here for the head coaches now, and also some offensive coordinators has got the boot as well. So we'll touch on that and we'll break that down in just a moment. But don't go anywhere, man. It's halftime, and also we'll look into the Packers and the Bears and all these other matchups for a quick second. It's not going to be too long, but Packers and Bears will explain a little bit more. But don't go anywhere, man. Look, it's halftime. We will be right back. All right, man. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. Hit us up on the voicemail line, 219-413-9405. And of course, we'll play your take back on the next episode, hear what you got to say, and respond to it. So we got some news for the run. Actually, before we jump into the NFL, we're going to sneak a quick peek of the NBA because it's been going on and I haven't been giving it much love. However, Trae Young was recently traded to the Washington Wizards. Crazy. He was traded to the Washington Wizards. Now he's teaming up with Alex Sarr, and I'm looking forward to watching these two play. It was a lot of back and forth going on because the Atlanta Hawks were on a win streak without Trae Young, and when he did come back, they were losing a lot, and it's been a kind of an ongoing narrative of the Hawks possibly trading Trae Young for some time now, and is he the point guard to help them win? I think Trae Young is criminally underrated. This is a guy that's easily averaging 25 and 10. He's been an animal. So I'm excited to see what he does with the Washington Wizards now with Alex Sarr. It'll be interesting. Ultimately, I think it was a pretty fair trade for the most part, but it wasn't. Hawks didn't really get a big star. They didn't give up any draft picks or nothing like that. So, it's something to keep an eye out to see how the season will go on after this. So, I'm interested in it for the most part, and I think for the Hawks it could be very beneficial. And let's see. So to give a little bit more information too, I also want to let you know who they traded for. Now to clarify here, apparently it was CJ McCollum. So CJ McCollum and Corey, I don't know the other guy. No, I'm gonna just leave it at that. So CJ McCollum was traded there for Trae Young. So it wasn't really a big name guy, but someone who can still go get a bucket, and also is gonna be a lot cheaper than the cost of Trae Young. That's the biggest factor for me of why I think the Atlanta Hawks is actually gonna benefit from this trade, because they got rid of Trae Young, got rid of his huge contract. Now has a lot more cap space to be able to go bring in other players, bring in some free agents, maybe acquire another superstar to help out the rest of the team that you have. They have a very lanky team, long team, very defensive team as well. So I think they're up and coming. I'll put it that way. And now that they got rid of the Trae Young contract, they can really splurge on other players in terms of completing this team. So I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a good move for both parties, because Trae Young is now with Alex Sarr and the Washington Wizards, and they're doing their thing. So we'll see. Other than that, look, man, let's jump into the NFL. This is exactly where I promised you we would be. So some of the new head coaches that were fired. Let's go down a full list in total. So Giants have a head coach opening. Just all the openings here. A lot of them. So Browns, obviously Stefanski. Raiders, Pete Carroll was fired. Falcons, Raheem Morris. They kind of clear house. They fired the CEO and GM. Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon. He was fired. They also fired Cliff Kingsbury. We know the Giants, Brian Dable, he got fired way beyond, the offseason. I said Raiders. Titans, they recently fired their coach. We also have the Baltimore Ravens fired John Harbaugh, and the Miami Dolphins fired Mike McDaniel. So it was kind of weird when this happened, because when Harbaugh got fired, Mike McDaniel was still a head coach. And then rumors started to circulate very fast that the Dolphins were interested in John Harbaugh. So a little bit later, after the rumors were circulating, news breaks that Miami Dolphins Mike McDaniel was fired. So crazy there. Some GM openings that's still going on. Miami Dolphins did fire their GM as well, and the Falcons also fired their GM. So they're looking to acquire someone in the front office. As we know right now, Matt Ryan is going to be he's going to be the president of football operations with the Atlanta Falcons. It's a new position they created specifically for him. And apparently he's going to have full control of everything related to the field, from the GM to the coach, just full control to Matt Ryan. So I'm excited that he's returning to the Atlanta Falcons as a Falcons fan. Other than that, some of the playoff games that we have here, the games are going to be starting on Saturday. We get some college football tonight, tomorrow. Well, by the time you hear this, it'll be, we'll find out the winner between Ole Miss and Miami. But the following day, we'll have another college football game as well, and that'll be a fun game to watch. But that one will be between Indiana and Oregon. I'm excited about that matchup too. I know I don't really shed too much light on those games, but Indiana or Oregon should be another great matchup. Nobody really expected Indiana to ball out like this. Anyway, back to NFL. Saturday, you have the Rams and the Panthers in an early slot game. Panthers are going to be hosting the LA Rams. If you only listen to half of the episode, go back, listen to the full segment between the two. I just think it's interesting. Although it might be a blowout, although it's not the most hyped up game, I think there are some aspects of this game that will be very entertaining to watch and some key matchups we can look forward to. Not saying Panthers are going to go out here and make it a game, which they might, who knows, but go check it out. Anyway, then later on Saturday, we have the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field. I'll explain my predictions on here, but for Saturday night and Saturday as a whole, I have the Los Angeles Rams beating the Carolina Panthers for sure, and I'll explain this matchup in the Chicago Bears in just a second. Anyway, Sunday for the wild card games, we have the Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be playing this game at home. And, initially, before the playoffs started, I said the Buffalo Bills and the Denver Broncos were going to go to the AFC Conference Championship. Now that I see this matchup against the Jaguars, I'm not too sure that the Buffalo Bills will even make it past there, because Jacksonville is playing at home. They're 7-2 at home. They usually defend home field. Trevor Lawrence has been amazing. They have the number one run defense in the NFL right now. Although Bills have the number one run offense, I think this could legitimately become a solid game to watch. And it could honestly go either way, because Jaguars defense is good. Bills have been somewhat inconsistent. I know they have the reputation of having a pretty okay defense, but even offensively, this team has been up and down all year, losing to the Carolina Panthers, losing to the Atlanta Falcons, losing to these teams that they should have for sure beat. Meanwhile, Jacksonville Jaguars are scorching hot right now. They've won 8 out of their last 9 games, 8-game winning streak. It's nuts, man. This is a good team for Jacksonville. So I think if I had to predict this game here, Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this ball game. So that just throws a whole loop in my overall AFC contenders and AFC championship game. I think Jacksonville surprises everybody, man. This is a good team, and I think they really have a shot at beating the Bills at home. However, we have the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is also going to be another great matchup happening Sunday. The Eagles will be at home. Initially, I said the 49ers will win this matchup. I still think the 49ers are going to win this matchup, mainly because they have been more dominant than what I've seen from the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm on record saying, and I'll say it again, there's not enough makeup in the world to cover the terrible football that the Philadelphia Eagles have been showing on their faces, because it's not good, man. They've been up and down. The offenses look bad. The defense has struggled. Sometimes they play good. Sometimes they get burnt. So it's been so back and forth. However, I know the Eagles are at home, and it's hard to win in Philly, even if you're the Philadelphia Eagles. But we've seen the 49ers go on the road and win multiple games. They beat the Seahawks at home. They beat some elite teams on the road. They're 7-2 on the road, correction. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do going into Philly. And it'll be a very, very harsh environment. But I just don't think Eagles have it down pack enough, man. They've been so inconsistent, and I don't think they'll just all of a sudden snap into a solid team just in the midst of the playoffs. I just don't think it's going to happen. So 49ers to win that ball game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you have the Los Angeles Chargers and the New England Patriots. This is going to be happening at Foxborough in Boston. And I really don't want the Patriots to win, man. I'm not ready to see the Patriots start winning ball games again. It's just a sad sight, truth be told. But ultimately, as much as I want the Chargers to win this ball game, I think the Chargers are just I think the Panthers. I'm all over the place. I think the Patriots in this matchup against the Chargers are just the more well-rounded team. So I got the Patriots winning this ball game, unfortunately. Then Monday, you had the Texans and the Steelers. This is going to be a great matchup here. Texans, Steelers. I can go either way. Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have the experience, especially led by Aaron Rodgers on the offense, but the Texans have a tremendous defense, best defense in the NFL all around. So it can really go either way. I'm going to put my faith in the Texans, though, just because from what I've seen with this defense, they can win ball games on their own. And even if C.J. Stroud goes out there and has an okay game, that should be enough to still be able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering how good that Texans defense is. So we'll see, but looking forward to a great matchup. And then on the other side, the last game I did want to jump into and that I did not predict just yet was the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. Now, this game here, I'm excited to look at it. And just to throw something in the loop here, now, both of these teams, when they played twice, division rivals. They've seen each other twice this year, and each team has won when they hosted the other team. So the Packers played earlier in the season, and they won that game off a game-winning interception. It was tremendous. Final play, walk-off interception, Packers win. And then a couple weeks later, the Packers and Bears play each other again, and this time it's at Soldier Field, and Soldier Field is rocking. The Bears went off of a walk-off touchdown, deep bomb to DJ Moore. It was just pure cinema, and I truly think this team or this matchup between the Packers and the Bears might be the best division game out of all of them, just because of the way we've seen these games go throughout the course of the season, man. Both of these games earlier in the season have come down to a final play, and I'm sure this game in the wild card is going to come down to a final play, and I just so happen to think this final play is going to be in favor of the Chicago Bears winning it. I know, it's wild. It's crazy. Nobody could think that the Bears and Ben Johnson will get out the playoffs of the first round of his first year coaching there. But Packers coming into this game off a 4-game losing streak. And I know they rested their starters that final game and all, but still, that kills a lot of momentum. 4-game losing streak. Home team has won the last 2 matchups. This game is in Soldier Field in Chicago. Caleb Williams, he was the 3rd least sacked quarterback in the NFL. And now the Packers are also missing Micah Parsons. It's a lot of things where it's adding up, and I'm just thinking the Bears have a slight advantage here because even without Micah Parsons attacking them, you're going against a top-tier offensive line in the Chicago Bears. This is a team that's ranked 6th in pressure allowed to the quarterback, and it's already going to be difficult for the Packers to generate pressure if they had Micah Parsons. Now that you don't have him, I just don't know if they'll have enough. I don't know if they'll have enough to really get to Caleb Williams. He doesn't get sacked a lot. And then even to help Caleb Williams out even more, not only is he protected by a great offensive line, but he gets another elite wide receiver threat back to him this week. He gets Rome Odunze back, coming back from injury. Rome has been out since November, and they've still been winning games. They still were able to pull off that crazy victory in Soldier Field just a few weeks ago against the Green Bay Packers. So it's a lot of things where I look at the matchup, and yes, 2 evenly matched teams. I know Packers are a good team, and they thrive. They thrive. I mean, they've been looking good, especially toward the back end of the season. This is a team I really felt like they've been getting better and better each week of football, as it's supposed to be. But you can also say the same thing about the Chicago Bears, which is just crazy. So I'm looking forward to this matchup, man. And, you know, I think we definitely get the best game of the wild card here with the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers, but I'm going with the Green Bay Packers to lose, and I'm going with the Chicago Bears to win this ball game over the Packers, man. I've seen this offense flow. If they can get out to a quicker start than usual, it will really get nasty. Usually this team doesn't come alive until second half, third, fourth quarter. That's when they start to really figure things out, and they put pieces together, and they score the ball well. They make these big, crazy plays. But if they can start off the game coming out the gate, being able to score, move the ball efficiently, this game might get very nasty. But But again, these teams see each other a lot. They know a lot about each other, and they're very familiar with each other's style, personality, on field, off the field. Hey man, it'll be a good matchup. So I'm excited for this one here, but I got the Chicago Bears winning this ball game, so it'll be interesting. Other than that, look, man, that's all I got for you guys. Weekend coming up, so have yourself a great weekend. Send this to a cousin, brother, aunt, uncle, niece, nephew, coworker, friend, family member. Anybody you know who enjoys sports, I promise they won't mind, especially if I talked about their team. Just send them a half, if anything. Tell them to start at this point, and, hey, who cares? But positive note. I'm going to leave y'all on a positive note. Positive note here is just going to be as simple as one of my quotes, actually. I'm going to say one of the favorite quotes I have. Early to bed, early to rise. Early to bed, early to rise is a man who's young, wealthy, and wise. So, hey, do with that information as you will. It's one of my favorite quotes, so, hey, stick with it. Other than that, man, that's all I got. So, I appreciate you guys for kicking it. And we'll be back, man, later on next week to recap some of these games. I know no Falcons talk today, but there'll be plenty on social media. So, check us out at Podcast and Run on Twitter. The Run Podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The Run with Manny Wilson. So, we'll jump into it, man. We'll see y'all later on next week. And so on and so on and so on.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.